Hey guys, welcome back to another video on the Railroad Empire. In today's video, I'm showing how I did the static grass on my layout. So, getting started, I placed down all the trees and marked exactly where I wanted them. Then I went forward with drilling the holes, and I was going to put toothpicks in to mark where every tree went, but unfortunately the toothpicks were too small and just slid right through the holes. So I just went ahead and placing down glue and made sure to avoid the holes where the trees go. And I let it sit for a sec, made sure it got tacky, and then I went ahead with a static grass applicator and applied a 7mm light green static grass. That was my color of choice. Of course, depending on the area you're modeling, it could be different. But yeah, I was pretty happy with what I chose for the end results. But after placing it on, I put a sock over my vacuum and started vacuuming it up, being cautious to save as much material as I could because it's not necessarily the cheapest, but it looks great. So after vacuuming it, I went ahead and placed the trees back in, and once I got all those placed in, I went ahead and added bushes, and I was pretty happy with the end result. Then I went forward with doing the next section. For this section, I knew it would be a little bit more difficult knowing the building was there, but luckily that was removable. I started by taking the trees with the bases on and placing them around to an accurate spot of where I would want them. And then, you can see with the drill, I started drilling in the holes and making sure everything was set to where I would want it after the static grass was in place. Then I started spreading the glue out, making sure to avoid where the trees would go in. I did this because in my testings I figured out it looks much better to have dirt under the tree than grass. I was also cautious not to put glue where the building was going because I did not want to glue down the building, I just wanted to put grass around it. So I kept placing down the glue, making sure to avoid all the holes where the trees would go in and being careful not to get much on the road. And then I went forward with the static grass applicator and started applying the grass. I made sure to hold it very close to make sure all the fibers, or most of them, would stand up. So far, I was pretty happy with the results, so I decided to continue and bring the machine closer to the road. And then we can see, after getting it pretty much close to the road, I was just finishing up the gap there so there wouldn't be any sort of seam between the two sections. And then I went through just touching up with the vacuum and the sock, saving all the excess static grass, going through one more time, just making sure everything's perfectly how I want it, going through with my finger, making sure it's all standing up straight, and then shortly after that, I started gluing down the trees. For gluing down the trees, I put a dot of super glue inside the little hole, and then a little bit of super glue as well on the base of the tree, and then gently pressed them into the hole and held them until the glue set. I do highly recommend doing different colors of trees, as that makes a lot of variety in the forest when the layout is complete, and in my case it ended up looking pretty good in the end results. So now with all the trees pretty much glued in, I got to work on repositioning the lampposts. Now, it took me quite a while to reposition them because some grass and dirt had fallen into the hole and was not allowing me to push them back in. So in doing that, I accidentally broke one of them a little bit and had to super glue it back together, but when it was all finished, I ended up getting it all good. So after that was all settled with, I moved on to the last section here. I started again by positioning the trees in the exact spot that I wanted them and marked all the positions and started drilling the holes. You guys will also see how I have a little bit of a hill there. I also had one on the other side of the switch house. Again, with the end result, having just that little bit of hill there really helps for some nice terrain variations so everything isn't flat, and I was really happy with how that looked in the end result as well. Now with most of the holes completed for the trees, I move on to putting down the glue. Again, avoiding putting glue in the holes where the trees go, and allowing that dirt base under each tree that gets glued into the layout. Another thing that I learned in the process is make sure to do a liberal coat of glue in the case that I did. If you don't do enough glue, your static grass will not stick very good, and it just helps it stand out better, which is something that I have realized really does help. And then as I finish up with the glue, I bring back the static grass applicator with the 7mm static grass and start shaking it roughly about a half an inch away from the layout, just to give the fibers a better chance to stand directly straight vertical and allow for the best results. And as you guys will see here, I had a little bit of trouble with the tree there. It kept getting in the way, and I tried to pull it out and I was going to re-glue it, but it ended up just working to bend it one way and then bend it back, and it seemed to be fine. So I just kept going with the static grass applicator and vacuuming, and then combing all the fibers to get them standing up straight, and then I went ahead with gluing in the trees. And now as I finish up gluing the trees, let's get some nice B-roll shots of what this looks like when it's all finished.